All right. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We've had a relatively quick update to the PTR. Thankfully, as you guys know, I put out a video a few days ago saying, hey, these changes seem a little bit half-baked. I really hope the StarCraft 2 Classic Games team over at Blizzard actually listen to the community, tap into the modders, the map makers, the guys who've been making bug fixes but have had no way to implement them into the live game because, of course, modders in the community have no power over StarCraft. It seems like with these changes, that has at least somewhat been the case. So let's read through them quickly and talk about what's changed because there are some really big ones. First of all, you can see they've tried to change the new notes or it's any number that's shifted by highlighting it blue. So we're just going to read the changes from the last video. If you guys haven't watched that, go back and check it out. I'll make sure I link it below, but you can just check my channel. It's probably, I think it's the last upload on this channel, so easy to find. First one, Spire build time reduced from 71 to 66 seconds. I actually wouldn't mind that going down to 61 just to really push the Spire building faster. Obviously, the Spire unlocking and mass mutas coming out can be quite hard to deal with, especially for mid and low tier players. I've heard some people say this isn't enough. This doesn't change anything. If you're an average Joe, what does 5 seconds mean? I don't know if that's the case or not, because I've actually had so many people say, oh, siege tank is 5 minerals cheaper, game's going to be broken because I already lose to tanks, now I'm going to lose 10 times as hard. You know, I do think that makes a decent difference. It's, what is that, like 7% increase? It's something. It's going to change something. It's not like, oh my god, this is going to force mutas to be massive, but it is going to allow them to come in just that little bit faster. That will add up. If mutas were seen in 15% as EVTs, maybe they'll now be seen in 20%. I don't think you're going to have a massive change where it's 3/4 of your games are Mutalisks now, but it's going to be a bit easier to get to. Next up, Microbial Shroud. They've increased the spell cost from 75 energy to 100 energy, which means you're only going to have 2 of those per Infestor, and they need to gather up energy to get it. Not only that, it now requires an upgrade again, which costs 150, 150. I can't remember how long they've actually made for this upgrade. I'll have to check that. But essentially they're saying, look, Microbial Shroud is really good. Let's gate that a bit higher up the tech tree. That means doing things like just pure Ling Infestor, which I was just going to play pure Ling Infestor every game against Terran. It's going to be a little bit harder to get to the Infestors without building Banelings and other stuff before that. I still think there's a huge design issue with the Infestor where you've got a unit, and after playing with it, I was realizing not only does it create the kind of no fighting zone, the Microbial Shroud, it also can lock the opponent in that zone, right? You can fungal growth as well, and it's very rare for a unit to have a disable as well as a you can't fight here zoning tool. Putting those two things together, definitely a dangerous combo. So I'm still kind of like, this is something which I think will create new strategies. It'll be fun to use. I think long term, similar to what I said about energy recharge, cool idea, probably will have negative consequences long term. There's also, of course, concerns that it overlaps with the Blinding Cloud design space. They both kind of do. Blinding Cloud is like, you can't shoot from there. And and then you put down Microbial Shroud and it's like, your shooting does no damage here, or it does half damage here, which is kind of interesting. I think they also, I thought they were going to lower this to 40%, I heard someone say. But maybe that was just like a fake news. So apparently, I thought they were going to lower the damage down to 40. Apparently, it's still 50% damage reduction. No clarification on whether or not that's applied before or after armor, because that can make some really big differences. Like, we were crunching some numbers. We were going like, hey, if a Marauder's, fully upgraded, and Ultralisk is fully upgraded, it's doing 26 damage versus armored. A shot minus 7 armor is 19 damage. And we kind of crunched some numbers, and that's just something we'll potentially need to really think about, because if you've got, 26 damage minus 7 armor, fully upgraded Ultralisk, fully upgraded Marauder, 19 damage. Now, if you then knock 50% of that off, so we can just divide by 2 or times by 0.5, another way to do the same thing, you get 9.5 damage. Okay, cool, so you do 9.5 damage. But what if we start over and we do 26 damage, and then we immediately divide by 2, and then we do the minus armor? Only 6 damage, right? And that's a very big difference, right? 9.5 damage a shot or 6 damage a shot from a Marauder is pretty crazy. Don't get me wrong, it is very much going to be, you don't want to fight in either of those, but it will make a difference, especially because this is such a high percentage. So people with better math skills than me can do the numbers on that, but something that should perhaps be addressed as well and just be made a bit more specific. All right, so with Protoss, guys, we've got Mothership movement speed has been reduced. So I think I read somewhere, I think someone said that this is actually not meant to be lowered, the hit points and shields on the Mothership. and instead they're just going to do the speed reduction. Essentially, just there's a few things. I talked about how I would love if the mothership could be abductable, but it only got abducted half distance. Problem is, it sounds like from what I'm hearing from map makers is that it's very hard to do that in the editor, and it's a bit jank. So it's probably not on the table without cheating, essentially, and using a system that's prone to breaking and creating bugs. And obviously, they don't want to do that. So Mothership is, though, a bit of a problem, especially in PvZ. So I think they're doing this. Now, I think something I heard, part of these changes, let me scroll down to bug fixes really quickly, is tied to these changes. So and I wish this was explained in here, but these notes just come with no explanations. But I've been talking to the map makers behind the scenes who are passing on information to Blizzard and giving them their ideas and showing them how to implement things, apparently. So that's really good that that's happening. And one of the map makers, OmniSkeptic, who's been doing a ton of this bug fix work, was telling me that, hey, basically, the Mothership used to behave erratically when targeting changelings. No, not that one. It's this one. Fixed an issue where Mothership was unable to designate and maintain the correct number of targets for target firing, including during movement. So there was also an issue where Mothership's target acquiring process would cause it to overly prioritize low priority targets such as lava. There was also an issue where the Mothership's range was less than intended. So basically the Mothership was really janky. And essentially by fixing these bugs, it's basically getting a 1 range buff, which means it's going to be doing damage much better. It's going to be way better at driving through mineral lines and killing workers and just generally shooting further, not targeting lava and eggs and overlords and stuff. It was kind of doing things in reverse, where it was targeting the low priority targets first, which was really bad. It's going to actually target the higher priority targets, I believe, which is very good. So the Mothership is going to be buffed in a few ways there in bug fixes, and that should maybe be mentioned up here next to this, because otherwise people are just going to go, oh, it's just getting nerfed. I'm going to need to question this one, guys, because like I said, from what I'd heard, the hit point shield nerf was going away. It was just going to be, hey, we're fixing the Mothership's behavior, fixing all these bugs. It's going to be a better fighting unit. We're going to make it a little slower to compensate. We'll see. I'll follow up on the comments in the comments if I can get clarification on that. Next up, Psionic Storm duration increased. And these numbers are so confusing. Duration increased from 0.39956 to 0.53312. I don't know what that means. Normally, if I'm looking at duration, I'm looking at it in terms of seconds. This is some sort of editor speak, editor jargon that has not been translated to human speak. Don't know what that means. But if we just look at it in terms of percentages, we can go, okay, it's about 4 to just about 5.3. Oh, okay, so it's going up about 30% duration or something like that, from what I can tell. Now, the Psionic Storm radius increase is absolutely bananas, guys. Sorry, I should make this a bit bigger so it's easy for you guys to see if you're on phone. 1.5 to 2.25. I don't know if you guys know how radiuses work, but every bit you increase the radius, because it's going in every direction in a circle, it's like a massive area increase. Like it's kind of like if you have like a curved vessel, like a bowl or something, and it's like much wider at the top. Every ring at the top is worth way more than a ring at the bottom. That's kind of sorry, I'm trying to explain radius to people who don't get it. Let's look at some GIFs of this in a sec. Psionic Storm period reduced. I think what they basically said is because we saw in the previous one there were bugs where Zerglings were running straight through Storm and not getting hit. I think they're just trying to make it basically tick the damage more frequently. Basically, so it's just doing constant instances of damage so that it doesn't have such inconsistent behavior. Of course, a few people have already posted on Reddit, so let's take a look here. We've got Psionic Storm PTR update posted. So you can see some Hydras move through. You can see that damage was pretty steady on those Hydras as they move through it. Drops another Storm. Okay, so you can see the Banelings can move through a full Storm and just barely survive with 5 hit points left over, thanks to that buff. Mutas can still obviously just fly straight through as long as they don't stand and fight. Bio, yep, can get through it, but the Marines almost did. So it does do a little bit less damage than it used to clarify, guys. I think it's about 75 or 80% the damage per second, but it lasts, it's way bigger, and it lasts a lot longer as well. As you can see, I mean, that's lasting a good amount of time. All right, so yes, at first I was just looking at the damage per second, but you got to realize this is a bigger area. So I think where this is most impactful is holding choke points and stuff. If a Zerg's trying to push into a third base and the Protoss has like 2 choke points to defend, that Storm lasting that long and covering that much area, it's just going to create areas the opponent does not push into. And I think you've still got energy overcharge, even though it's heavily nerfed in this version. It's going to make it so hard to break a Protoss with this version. With like a Hydra Bane Bust, Ravager Bane Bust, anything like that. Once Storm's out, it just feels like this thing is going to be so deadly. I guess what I would probably say, just to analyze this, is it's too big. I mean, off the top of my head, making Storm that big while still doing pretty damn competitive damage does just seem a bit too powerful. Overall, I'd call this a pretty big buff for Storm, and when I'm done with this video, I'm immediately going to go live stream and play pretty much purely Protoss and just build as much Storm as I can, because I think it's the biggest thing that's changed in these patch notes. All right, guys, so I'll let you know in the comments later on, at the end of my ladder session, what my experience is with the Storm. I think it's going to be overpowered a little bit. And I think over time, the longer we play, the more overpowered we'll realize it is. Next up, guys, we've got Purification Radius increased from 1.5 to 1.75. So the Disruptor is going to have a bigger AoE. So we've got the Disruptor right now back on its old AoE. It's going to be even bigger, and it's going to shoot 4.4 seconds faster, or it's going to recharge its shot from 21.4 seconds down to 17 seconds, which is massive. I'd love the Stasis Ward duration, guys, reduction. I think that's really good. I think Stasis Wards are just, it's kind of silly that you can spam them and they sit there for minutes. So I think this is a very nice adjustment there to the Stasis Ward, just to make it less, oh, I'm just spamming Stasis Wards. Obviously, already nerfing energy recharge does solve that problem to a certain extent, but I think a minute and a half for a trap to last, still a pretty good time without you just kind of throwing them down willy-nilly and getting value. Sometimes minutes later, for just throwing them everywhere, rather than going, oh, I'm going to put it in a specific place and have much more of a, I'm trying to make a trap work right here, right now. They also fixed the Viking cost, guys. I still don't think the Viking needs a buff. I do not know why the Viking needs a buff. My biggest criticism of this second round of PTR changes is, once again, there's no explanation. We've added and modified changes. You can check the new notes in blue. But still, why is the Viking getting a buff? Okay, it used to be, they made it down to 50, so it was a 25 mineral and 25 gas discount. Now they took away the gas discount, it's just a mineral discount. That's good, but I still don't think it needs a buff, personally. I don't know. I just don't know why we're doing this. I don't have a conception of it. I have no framework to put this within. Other than people saying like, oh, Colossus are too good in PvT. Where is that? Where is that happening? Anyone? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know, dude. I do not think Colossus are too good in PvT at all. I think a lot of people would argue the opposite. They do almost no damage to Marauders, and everyone swaps to 4 Tech Labs, 1 Reactor after the first barracks, and is on mostly Marauders. I mean, Colossus, they're not bad units, don't get me wrong, but I just think it's a very healthy interaction where if the Protoss player gets an advantage, the Stalkers can focus down the Vikings. If the Terran player gets an advantage, they can gun down the Colossus without them achieving anything. You know, that's the way competition works. So I'm not sure what this is supposed to address. Next, Liberator site reduced from 10 to 9. Now, this is an interesting change, guys. I've been on board with this, but I've actually been confused about this, and I have to kind of backtrack a little bit. So I was saying, hey, we should do this, but we should also make Liberator range go back to +3 range, and you don't get vision of the circle when you siege up. What I didn't realize is I thought the idea would be that with Liberator range, you can't quite see the edge of the circle, right? Kind of like here. So this is off Reddit, a screenshot of this Liberator can't shoot these Zerglings. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want, is just so, you know, when they siege just on the edge of like a cliff or like over the gap next to your mineral line, and they can just barely zone 1 worker, which is super deadly. It's ridiculously annoying to deal with because certain maps just have brutal spots. So map makers have to be very careful about that. What I didn't realize is with this change, this is without lib range. It can't see to the edge of it. With lib range, it looks like this. It can't shoot these guys, so it can only shoot for about half of its circle. Now, maybe this isn't that game-breaking, but obviously, as you guys can imagine, there is a massive amount of players complaining about this going, what the hell, man? I used to be able to shoot this whole circle, now I can't. And I guess what's a bit odd about it is I was thinking this would be a good change to make it so the lib can't quite shoot to the edge, unless it's got another spotter unit or a scan for it, just to make it less obnoxious for sieging up those abusive spots on maps. Especially, like we've seen, I remember there was a Gumiho Showtime game on Oceanborn, where Showtime was wrecking Gumiho, but because he was playing a non-Stargate style, there was a moment where Gumiho got libs like up here in this top middle and just siege, like he got a lib here, and a lib here, and he denied Showtime's 3 newest bases, and Showtime went from like 7 bases dominating against a barely on 4 base hanging on Gumiho to like 3 minutes of no mining on 3 of his bases until he built a Stargate, got out like a Void Ray or a Phoenix, cleared them up one at a time, and then got back to mining. Now, obviously, that map had a lot of those abusive lib spots, but I thought, okay, that's what we're going to address. And we'd have a buff in there as well for the lib, while also making it cost a bit more, since, you know, reverting an old cost buff to the Liberator, but also reverting an old nerf to the Liberator range upgrade. So I think this is one of those things where you can see people are a bit mad about it. I think this probably should get reverted, and we should just make it no vision of the circle, so that lib with range looks like this. But lib without range can shoot the whole thing. I think that will still be okay, and it should still allow map makers a bit more freedom with their maps. Don't get me wrong, I know the Liberator in general is a pain for map makers to work around, but I don't think myself or anyone else balancing the game at this point has the authority to say, let's take away one of Terran's toys, one of their best and most interesting units. If we were to do that, that would be part of probably making a mod for StarCraft where you remove the craziest units from StarCraft 2, like Widow Mines, like Liberators, maybe the StarCraft 2 Lurker, maybe you get rid of the Baneling, maybe you make the Hydra a tier 1 unit. Basically, you turn StarCraft 2 into StarCraft 1, which is actually very fun. It's a very fun way to play in the StarCraft 2 engine, but it is a different game, which is why I don't think you can straight up remove the Liberator. I think it's probably something map makers are going to have to keep working around, but I'm open to hearing other ideas from people in the community. It could be something where we just drop the whole changes to the Liberator entirely for this patch, for simplicity's sake, since I don't think it's super high priority. All right, and then the best thing about this patch, guys, all right, guys, so we've got some Liberator change that's a bit controversial. We've got Storm change that's just such a big AoE in duration while still having very competitive damage. I believe, you know, everyone said it's 130 damage over 6 seconds. If that's true, that is pretty impressive. Up from 80 damage over 2.83 seconds. I mean, that's insane, right? that's pretty damn sick. On the other hand, we've also got a ton of bug fixes here, guys. So there are so many bug fixes. Fix an issue with Cyclone attack upgrade giving +1 instead of +2. Fix an issue with Cyclone lock on cooldown. Fix an issue with orbital commands not auto-railing. Fix an issue with Mothership attack at max range. All those other Mothership ones we already read. Updated Protoss AoE UI indicator. Fix an issue where units and beam attacks would conflate with each other's cooldowns. Fix an issue where probes would become unresponsive near simulators. That's the probes getting stuck when you build them. Fix an issue with Psionic storm ticks where... with Psionic storm ticks applying incorrectly, causing unintended reduced damage. Fix an issue where units unloaded out of transports would not reset their required attack target to the closest unit. So I didn't realize this, guys. Apparently, if you're Marauder, you target it on like an Infestor, but then you pick it in the medevac, drop it again. It's not going to shoot the Zergling right in front of it. It'll shoot the Infestor still. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's cool. That's an inconsistency, so that's actually a good fix. Fix an issue where add-on build commands can be issued to the same barracks repeatedly rather than spread out. There's so many things here. So this is actually really exciting. I'm not even going to read all of them. This is great. Shout out to our modding community. Shout out to Omni Skeptic, who's been working on a lot of these, and a bunch of other people. This is awesome. I love that we've got so many of these changes getting through, and I do love that Blizzard is listening. At the end of the day, guys, that's my biggest takeaway, guys. I think Storm is going to be broken on this. I think that radius needs to go right down. 1.75 if you want to make it bigger, maybe. It's still pretty big, man. We used to call EMP, when it became 1.75, the radius of the sun is what Rotterdam called it. Because the first time he played on that patch when they made the EMP have an upgrade, his army was like not even that clumped, and it just got entirely EMP'd, and he just like was dying laughing. He's like, this is stupid, like what the hell? So I can only imagine people will lose their minds once they experience 2.25 radius storms. You guys let me know what you think. The plus side is that this was updated relatively quickly. Hopefully it cannot get updated again relatively quickly. From what I can tell, whoever's taken over balance at the Classic Games department seems to be putting a lot of work into this, and they seem to be listening. I don't agree with all the changes yet at all, but doesn't matter. I don't need to agree with everything. The fact that they're listening, they're adjusting, iterating, hopefully means we can work our way towards a very good patch. Let your thoughts be known down below, and I will update in the comments after playing some ladder games. See you guys next time. Goodbye and good night.